What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here, and I have a graphic novel that I want to talk about just a little bit. Dr. Fate, Volume 1. This is titled The Blood Price. It's written by Paul Levitz with art by Sonny Liu and Lee Lowridge. And this collects the first 7 issues of the 2015 Dr. Fate series from the New 52, as well as the DC Sneak Peek Dr. Fate issue 1. And I mostly got this because Dr. Fate is one of those characters that I like quite a bit, but most of the time he's just a background character, or he's part of a larger ensemble. He's very rarely given his own series. I am a huge fan of the 1980s J.M. DeMatteis Dr. Fate run. It is, in my opinion, one of the best runs on a character, period. It should be talked about as much as, say, Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, in my opinion. It is that good. And so I got this hoping that we would have something that kind of recaptures that magic, pun intended, since Dr. Fate is a magical character. And this book is okay, but not as good as, say, the J.M. DeMatteis run. And I think part of it is this is extremely decompressed. This is 7.5 issues. The sneak peek issue is not very long. It's 7.5 issues, and all this character really does is he gets the helmet and he stops the world from flooding, and that's about it. It introduces some villains, or at least one villain, and it basically has our character get his powers and sets him up as a new superhero in 7.5 issues. I feel like the old Dr. Fate, or the one from the 1980s, the one that I really love, he did a lot of stuff. He would go to alternate realities and fight demons in every issue. He fought Darkseid once. There was a lot of stuff that went down in the old Dr. Fate comics, and I feel like this book is really toning it down quite a bit, where all he does in the span of 7.5 issues is stop the world from flooding. He doesn't really do anything really grand and huge. And also, I feel like for 7.5 issues, and for most of it to be largely setup, we don't really get a lot in this setup. All we know is that our main guy, his name is Khalid Nassour, I think is how it's pronounced, I don't know. His dad is a lapsed Muslim, his mom is a lapsed Christian, so he grew up in a household that doesn't really have a faith of any kind, and then he gets this helmet thing, and he finds out Egyptian gods are real, and then he basically spends the entire book thinking this is all a dream, or okay, maybe I can use this thing to help people, and then it doesn't work out as well as he thought it would because he doesn't know what he's doing, and none of these creatures or gods or entities are willing to help him. And it's really strange because in the 1940s, and really every version of Dr. Fate before this one, he had a guide, a spirit guide named either Nebu or Nabu, and he was a previous Dr. Fate, I believe, and his ghost was in the helmet and would kind of help the wearer of the helmet do different things. And he is in this book, but he doesn't actually do anything. In fact, he's barely in this book. I would say taking the place of Nebu as the sort of Obi-Wan Kenobi of this book is Bastet, the cat goddess. And even she doesn't do that much. She's there every now and then saying, hey, you need to save the world, but she doesn't tell him how to do it. And that's really kind of frustrating when you're reading this all in one sitting, where perpetually he keeps saying, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, and then all these gods and goddesses will show up and say, you just need to save the world, that's all you need to do. And then he finally gets some help from Thoth, who is the owner of the Dr. Fate helmet, the original owner, and then he kind of saves his butt, and then Khalid, he calls himself Kent in the medical field, but his name is Khalid. And I should mention, he's going to med school. He's just started med school in this book, but he's not a doctor yet. But he tells his professor that he's going to call himself Kent when he becomes a doctor. But Khalid, Kent, he finally masters his powers, I guess, just enough so that he can defeat Anubis and stop him from flooding the planet. And that's basically all that happens here. And that's going to sound really mean, but I did enjoy this book. I just wish that it was a little bit less decompressed. I wish that some stuff actually happened here. And if you are a huge fan of previous Dr. Fates, and you're hoping that this will bear some connection to those previous versions, you may not want to buy this book, because other than Nebu, there really is no connection to other Dr. Fates, or even the rest of the DC Universe. This is a very standalone book, which I'm very happy for, because I haven't been reading a lot of new DC stuff lately anyway, so I'm glad to have a brand new book that kind of stands on its own, and I don't need to read any of the more recent DC big events or other series to understand what's going on here. I like that. I just wish that this book had a little bit more stuff going on and wasn't just setup. And unfortunately, another problem with the first 7 issues kind of just setting up the status quo is that this series is going to end soon. I think around issue 12, something like that, is going to end because DC is once again doing another soft relaunch, and there are no plans for a Dr. Fate book in that soft relaunch. So that's kind of disappointing because this book only just became available like 3 days ago, and already this series is being canceled. And I know it's been out there for people who read single issues for like 7 months, but for people like me, I exclusively read trade paperbacks, and I only just was able to get the book, and already DC is canceling the book and doing another reboot. But overall, I thought this book was pretty decent. It's a really good start for a series. Unfortunately, there's probably only going to be 2 volumes of this series total, but I'm looking forward to what Volume 2 has. I will buy Volume 2 because I do like the character of Dr. Fate in previous versions, and I think that this version, playing him as more of a rookie who doesn't really know what he's doing and he's in over his head, I think that that's a very good direction to take the character. It's a nice little twist. Usually Dr. Fate is played as being all-powerful and all-knowledgeable. This is kind of taking him in the very opposite direction, and I think that works okay. I do wish that with all the different characters that we're setting up here, his parents, his girlfriend, this other girl who's kind of trying to wreck his love life and become his new girlfriend, I do wish that we could have had a lot more stuff with them than what's ultimately going to only be like a year's worth of comics. But I like this book, and if you're looking for something new and interesting and fresh from the DC Universe, I would recommend getting Dr. Fate, The Blood Price. So those are my thoughts on this book. Hopefully you guys liked this review. If you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back later in the week with some other videos. In the meantime, I'll see you guys later. Have a great rest of the day.